Right, it's back again for day two. It's a lot colder today, so I've got my fleece back on. This is a 7mm connecting Jubilee clip. 7mm, whatever you call it. You just got to undo this, just so that it allows you to take off the this outer ring, which is kind of a clip, so you have to take it off. You can see that the gap here allows you to maneuver away. So once you've got that off enough, you can just get it out of the way, keep it to one side somewhere safe. And then you've got this is a clip, so just remember when you put it back on to give yourself enough access to do up the Jubilee clip. So being careful, of course we're sort of taking these things off, but we don't want to break things, so it's just being carefully to take it off. As you can see, once it comes off, and everything can sort of move around. Slightly annoying this bit gets in the way, but there you go. Kind of everything in life. Put that to one side. So as you can see now, basically the fuel module will move around. And I might just take this silly Jubilee clip off here, because otherwise it's sort of interfering with what's going on. And again, put it to one side where you can find it again. Push that in there a bit, just so that we're keeping everything that sort of could go in. So it's a little bit dirty on top. I'm just going to wipe around it again. So when this comes up, you can start to see underneath here are various pipes and connectors. So we've got to be really careful. Get these out. It's a little bit awkward. So we've got one here that's got the clips, so I might use my pliers for those. So that's the theory, that's the fuel send. That's that one there. Can't really see into the tank until you get all the bits off, and you've got these wiring connectors that go from the outside in. You've got white, yellow and brown. Then you've got the fuel burning heater pipe, which is just actually very easy to remove because it's got a push up and then that pops out. So that's easily done. This is where it actually gets a lot more messy. So what I might do as well is just try and prop the tank up a little bit in this direction, so that the fuel that's in there might run to the other end. I mean, it's again obvious to say, but make sure when you're doing this job you haven't got a lot of fuel in the tank, otherwise you know you're just going to have a lot of trouble with this, because there'll be loads of fuel in there in the way. And I tried to run it as dry as possible, but you know it's not always possible to get it empty, and there's still going to be a bit of fuel in there. So just be careful when you're doing this kind of thing. These wiring connectors are actually pretty easy to get out. Just got to pull here clips. Actually, you have to start that end, don't you? Brown comes out first, because that's there, and then you're going to get the yellow one, and then the white one. So every time you undo something, it gives you a little bit more leeway to maneuver it. I think the last time I did it, that I found the brown, not the brown, the big breather pipe here was the hardest one to get off. So I'll see if I can do that. Go. That's all disconnected now. Put that to one side, somewhere clean. Right. No matter how clean you want to be when you do this, it's just impossible because there's diesel in here. It is diesely, so you really need the nitrile gloves. And before I'm going to go in there, I'm going to swap them for another pair so that they're just cleaner, so that I know that the gloves going in are clean. And we'll have a little look in the tank in a sec. Bear with me. Right, so I don't know how easy it is, but what we're aiming for is this green clip. It needs to be unclipped. It's relatively easy to take off. It's actually very hard to see, but there is a little like a finger pull thing that you grab onto, and you pull it gently, and then this green clip will disconnect from the actual unit where the fuel pump is housed. And you can see, you can just about see the top of the fuel pump there. So that's the fuel pump module, and then down here there's this thing down in here that needs to be taken out as well, which is it's just hard to see. So much stuff in there. Come around the other side. And down here there's a thing down here that you need to make sure it's like a round thing that sits in a little kind of nook, and it clips in. Just make sure that that's back in when you put everything back in. You've got to take various bits out. That's going to come out with the cables. And the other thing is on the fuel pump module there is a level sensor with a float on it, and so as you withdraw everything you've got to very carefully take it out. You'll see it, but again it's just very slow. You know, do it slowly, don't rush, and take it out. Give yourself time. If you're feeling stressed, walk away. Otherwise, you know, it's all delicate stuff, but you know, it's not like it'll just break by looking at it, but you've got to give yourself time to do all this kind of stuff, because it is a bit fiddly. So looking down, there is a pipe that's coming across from the rear of the tank. I'm just going to unclip that because I think that needs to come off in order to give me for everything else to come out, because otherwise I don't think that would come out. So I'm just going to unclip that because that's coming from behind at the other end of the tank. So there are various fuel feeds and things going backwards and forwards. Right, so that's the thing that's clipped in hiding there, and then somehow I've got to get to this green clip. It's just a bit of a pig to get to and to unclip. It's in a really awkward place, but you can do it by hand. Finally got it undone. It is a bit of a pain, agree, yes. Right, try and move anything that's in the way out of the way temporarily, and then you just have to, once the green clip's undone, you can start to maneuver. Obviously you don't want to spill, if there's any fluid in anything, try and drain it out. Come on. don't want to get too much gunk everywhere. So the fuel unit module starts to come out. We've got a few things in the way. This is like the front tank wire, the rear tank sender. So you've got to just make sure these are all unsnagged. And then that breather pipe is going to get in the way, so try and just manoeuvre that to go away if you can. That's not right in the way. And just gently move this fella. It's the fuel sender that's got itself trapped. There you go. Wow, there you go. One fuel sender unit. It's a bit of a faff to get out, but you know, there you go. It's this thing, slowly catching monkey, and we are, you know, just getting slowly to take this out. And that's the module. The sender unit's here. You can see how awkward it is, the position of everything. See how messy it is to get out. Covered in diesel here and there. So I'm going to just soak up around here with the mess. And then we're going to transfer over onto the bench. We're going to take this apart. I'm going to extract the existing fuel pump, and I don't know what I can do to inspect it. I suspect there's very little, but I will have a think about what I think may be wrong with it. We're going to inspect the fuel filter and see whether that's a problem. Just see, we'll see. But let's have a look at it and see what we think. That's the fuel burning heater hose, you know, coming out. So you just got to ease these clips and then gradually work up. It is a bit fiddly again, like most of this. So it's 3 of these clips, 1, 2, and then 1 on the other side. Okay, right, that's that. And then the pump comes out. There you go. So it's just all very messy. So this is the filter, which I reused last time. I think it probably just benefit from a bit of a clean, so we'll give that a clean, and then see where we're going. There's a little bit of fuel in here, a little bit of dirt from wherever. Oh, clever. Trying to keep this clean. There. There's a little bit of dirt in here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a few bits floating around, but nothing serious. Just a few bits of dirt. So we'll clean all this out. I won't put that fuel back in the car. The fuel filter comes off relatively easily. You just gotta very gently just prise it off. So that's the existing fuel filter. Just probably a bit dirty and can do it a good clean. Give all this a good clean. And once you've taken off the fuel filter, you can pull out this part of the module, which is just obviously keep an eye on where things are going, because you want to remember where things go when you put it back together. And this is supposed, we've got to the point where we've got our supposedly failed pump here, so we need to be able to withdraw our pump. Well, I've given up at this point, so I'm going to just cut these off. I do want to inspect these because I am suspicious about these things, because I used before they're like that heat shrinkable solder things, and I'm not convinced they're the best things in the world. Really, this time I'm going to do it more heat shrink and soldering properly, because the connector that comes with these things is never, you know, the right kind of connector that goes to pump. The one on the new pump is actually a different kind of connector, so we'll use that new connector that's come instead. Yeah. And the other hard bit is to take this pipe off. I remember last time it was quite difficult, so I actually had to heat it up with a hot air gun and then gradually work it off. It's actually quite a difficult thing to remove. It's alright to push back on, but it's just hard to remove. So I think I might just do that next, so I can get away from all of this guff that just keeps spilling more and more diesel everywhere, which is slightly depressing, but at the same time it's just, you can't do this job without getting in a mess. Right, so there you have it, one pump removed. Again, just a bit of a faff, slightly disappointed it's failed. So that's the one that was on there. It looked good, looks the same. It's got all the right parts, all the right bits on it, like the mesh in here. But for some reason it's just not working. Maybe something that was wrong when I put it back together, who knows. Okay, so once you get to the phase where you can put the fuel pump connector, get it soldered in. This is the new one from that TI Automotive pump that I've purchased, which is the equivalent to the Walbro that was in there originally. This is the original wiring. So I'm just going to strip that. I've got some heat shrink, so don't forget to put that on first. So it's going to go on there. You need a good chunk of that. It's nothing to do with the bare wires specifically in the tank causing a problem, because fuel is not conductive. The problem is that if the wires were to touch together, obviously you get a spark, and that is what is dangerous, although it is diesel, so hard to ignite, but better safe than sorry. So make sure you put your heat shrink on first, then get your wires suitably ready so that you can solder onto them nice and effectively. You need a good bit of wire. So got some nice wire there. I'll just give it a little white because everything's sort of contaminated with fuel on the bit that's been in the tank for a long time. I'm going to chop this down a bit more because I don't need quite as much as that. About there. Feels counterintuitive, but remember that's going on there. This is what we want the connector to go back up to the module at the top of the tank. So it's not very important that we have a massive bit. So there you go. Make sure you're going to solder it around the right way, of course. Red to red, black to black. Pretty straightforward if you're used to doing anything like this. So once you've got it prepared, just make sure you're around the right way. You're going to need a soldering iron. solder, you know, all the things that you should have if you're going to do this job. And I think maybe one of the questions that people might say is, why bother to replace just the fuel pump in the, you know, in the housing? Well, you know, if you're going to replace the actual tank module and buy it, for starters, it's probably a lot of money. I'm not sure you can guarantee if you were to buy a third-party one, the pump in it would be, you know, particularly any better. And at the same time, you know, why not do it? Because you know, you've got to take it all out anyway. So I mean, that's my thought about it. I'd rather have all the genuine Land Rover stuff in it to start with. You've also got to swap over any ancillary bits like the tank sender and all that. So it's not much less of a job to do it that way, to buy the whole unit. But you know, it's a choice, personal choice. My personal choice is to try and repair the pump. Obviously it's bitten me because this pump that I've just taken out seems to have failed within a year, but I don't know why. It could just be bad pump, just not as good quality as I thought it was. I don't know, but it's a difficult one because I can't see anything particularly wrong in there with anything. Nothing was like, there's nothing blocking anything, nothing stuck in anything. So it could just be a faulty pump. But how do you know when you buy it? It's like buying anything. You buy a car and it's got a fault that you don't know about and it just manifests. So very difficult, but obviously slightly annoying because it is a big job to do. Once you're happy that everything's solidly joined, get your heat shrink, and then we just get the hot air gun again, and we'll get that shrunk on. Like I said, it doesn't stop it from interacting with the fuel, but it does keep the wires insulated from themselves, which is what we want really. Let's just make sure it's about halfway on. And there we go. Joined together, nice and strong. Hopefully that will work nicely. Fingers crossed. Let's give this a clean. I've got some isopropyl alcohol which will nicely evaporate off. I'm gonna give it a little scrub just to make sure that it's not got loads of cack in it. I mean, it's not particularly dirty, but it will always probably clean up from where it's at. So that looks happy. I think I'm happy with that. It's clean. It was. You know, you're probably never going to get it completely clean because it's been in the car so long. But the problem is with the ones that come with it. So I don't think this will fit inside the. Although it could bend up. I'm not sure this will fit inside the fuel pump module. Although you could do that. But the thing about this one is it looks like it's got sort of additional bits on it. And it will supply potentially higher filtration. So I'm going to put this back in, take a risk. It hasn't failed. This hasn't stopped the car from running. The car still runs even though the fuel pump doesn't pump, because you can run the car without the fuel pump working. It's just when you put the car under more load or it's warmer weather, it kind of craps out. So that's the problem with the low pressure fuel pump, is the car will run without it, but just doesn't run very well. So yeah, I'm going to leave that. I'm kind of happy with that. I'm just going to make sure it's sort of properly nice and dry before I try and put it back in to anywhere. So I'm just going to dry that off and then we'll carry on. And you can see in the sort of muck that's come out of the just from giving it a brush with a toothbrush. So there is muck in there. Hopefully that's dislodged the worst of it. After a good chunk of time, we get everything nice and cleaned up. Got the fuel filter cleaned up, got this bit cleaned up, just giving the clipper wipe so it's not all horribly covered in diesel. And then this, it's all been cleaned out, so hopefully there's no nasty contamination in there. just a little bit of diesel left over. And the if you do want to remove the fuel sender, I think you have to just put a screwdriver underneath and push it up a bit. There are two little tabs. I couldn't remember how to do it earlier, so I looked at my previous video, but it's like underneath there are two little sort of sticking up nodules. So you just gently pull this up and it slides out, but I haven't done it this time because I couldn't work it out to start with, and it kind of doesn't really matter. I just did it last time because I took everything apart. I've got a couple of cable ties prepared for when I put everything back together. I've got my new TI Automotive, which is the equivalent of the Walbro pump that was in there originally. So this is the, it's hard to read the writing in the light, but this is GSS340 G3, and that's a TI Automotive, but it's the equivalent of the Walbro pump that was in there originally. And then I've got my bit here that's going to have the pipe pushed onto it. Might actually put a cable tie on it this time because I'm a little bit concerned about that. Although I will have a little look at the other pump quickly. And then this is the different connector, which is why I've done the soldering work on the other one. So that's all prepared. And then this red cap comes off. You can get it off. Yeah, come off. So I've got slightly, and then you've got the same kind of thing going on in there. You've got a small filter in there, so it's pretty much standard as to what was in the car originally. Just gonna put these bits back on quickly. I'm gonna have a quick look at my the wiring and everything just to double check, and the pipe that's going on here, just double check that everything will fit, and then we're going to crack on. Okay, I get to reassembly time. Just make sure everything is clean and ready to go. So we have this bit that the motor sits in, or the pump rather, well, it's a kind of motor. And then as far as I can tell from looking at my pictures, the wiring connector sits facing towards this larger hole at the back. And you can just make sure that it fits in. There are little notches in here and it fits into the cage one way round. Then you've got your fuel filter, which slightly offset. So what I'm going to try and do is just pop this in and see whether it will just attach, you know, initially onto the fuel pump, so I can then withdraw it and just make sure it's pushed on properly. There is this little guide here that stops the filter from being in the wrong position. So let's just have a little look and see how that matches up. Okay, so I've kind of just sort of captured it. So I'm going to assume that's approximately right. I mean, it may need some kind of adjustment, but it does seem that that's basically, when it fits in there, everything looks like it's in the correct alignment. So you give this a good push and it should pop on nicely. And then it aligns with the little notch in here. So just make sure it's nicely aligned and that you're happy with the positioning. That side might just need to go a little bit tighter, but so this is all designed to keep it roughly in the right position. And then got to make sure that this goes on properly. I have found that this pipe here is a little bit wider than this, so I'm going to try and work out if I can just get a cable tie and tighten it up. The kit did come with some of these little Jubilee clips, so I could potentially use that to tighten it up. It's just it's a lot wider than the aperture of the pump outlet, so that'll be something I'll just solve relatively quickly, I think. But just to make sure that everything's going to go back in the correct orientation. I've just realised, yeah, of course I've done it wrong, went around the wrong way. Going to use this as a guide to orientate the pump so that it's in the right position. I've got a picture of what it looked like last time, so I'm just making sure that it matches the orientation. So I'm not going to clip this in because I don't want it to be clipped in, but I just want to make sure it's facing the right direction. So this, I've got it lined up with this. That's actually wrong compared to that. So I think the pump last time was lined up with the, okay, so that's right. So last time the pump was lined up, wiring connector at this end with this pipe, and then the one that pushes in at the side, and then the fuel burning heater pipe pops in there. So that's around the right orientation from what I have a picture of. So then I want to fit the, because that orientation is now correct, I want to just pop the filter in, and that's aligned in the right alignment with the shell. And then I'm just going to drop this on top and see whether it will just pick up the fuel filter gently. So I can just make sure that it's round the right way. So, and then it aligns sort of with this bit. Just wonder whether it should be slightly more aligned to that direction. Yep. Right, so that's aligned. Just making sure it's in the right position. Then this has a stop on it here. There's a stop so that you can get the fuel filter to the right position. Then you've got it so you know you're kind of correctly oriented. So that pops back in there. Again, just make sure this is clean of bits and pieces that seem to want to keep falling in there. That's there. And then just check again. Got this pointing. This one goes in there. It's pointing that way. Fuel pump is there. That's correct. So I'm happy with that. So this is all again the same. Slowly, and just keep going, but take it slowly. Right, this gives me a little bit of a headache, but I have worked out the solution, I think, which is chop a little bit of this off. Okay, not the best solution in the world, but it's a tiny bit, so I'm hoping that that won't cause me a major headache. You never know, but I'm gonna take a gamble on that. So got these in here. The pipe can go on. Got my wiring connector ready, so I'm just nearly there, wanting to kind of get this finished off, because it's just so time consuming, and I want to make sure everything's happy before I start sort of messing around further. Right, so this is my solution here. The actual little what do you call them, the little Jubilee clips that came with the pump kit actually have provided me with a way to fix this on so it's nice and solid, and it seems okay. The plastic pipe's quite hard, so I can't see that there's anything weird is going to happen with this. It's very secure, it won't rotate now, so I'm hoping that that will give us enough grip on there to stop it from rotating, because before it was just rotating around and that seemed wrong. So I've got everything back in, I've clipped it, I've put in the thing on this side, which is the filter thing. Sender is there. The sender is there, kind of aligned. Got this pressure regulator, and so I'm just gonna carry on putting everything back together. I'm gonna give everything a bit more of a wipe and a clean, and just try not to introduce extra levels of gunk and dirt into everything. I've got our nice wiring connector wired up, so that can go in, clip in there at some point, and then just got to remember where my cable ties go, and clip this back on. This little sort of ground wire thing, it clips into the back of the pressure regulator in here, so you just have to, when you remove it, you just have to bend up one of these little pin things so that it slides out. Otherwise it's a kind of captured arrangement, but just be careful when you do that so that it doesn't get damaged, and then put it back in carefully as well. The fuel burning heater pipe goes in as well, which is on one side. Can't see the hole, which is here, so I just need to make sure that's correctly oriented, and that has a little cable tie on it as well. I think just a matter of sort of getting everything correctly oriented and cable tied so that you feel happy that it's back to what it was. As I said, always take pictures. I take pictures of what I'm doing so that I can just see the positions of things. This won't snag on anything, so there's nothing that's going to be in the way of this, so there's no issue with using a different wiring connector. So that will just nicely clip in and hold itself tight. Didn't get it wrong. Yeah, it's only oriented in that direction, so that will clip in, be nice and tight, and then we can start the process of reassembling. There's one other little bit in the tank that I'm just going to make a note of and report back on, because I'm not sure that I did it last time, and I'm not sure what it means to the whole function of everything. But I don't think it's a critical thing, but obviously you want to clip back everything into the correct position as much as possible and make sure that everything is secure. So like you say, with the fuel pumps there, it's got the fuel filter clipped onto it, it's in the right orientation, to put this back into the tank so that the kind of pipes all flow back in the right direction, then this wiring connector comes up. So we're just going to make sure we've got everything generally correct, and then we can start thinking about reassembly. And then this bit here that's got no connector on it, that in the tank there's a one of those connectors, so that's why I bought these pliers, was to get off those, the kind of connectors that have got the two like rectangular pushing things on, because I just struggled with them with my finger. So I bought those to do that, so that was really helpful. Okay, I've had just a revision, because I did check the pictures from when I took out the pump module originally, which might explain a little bit why it was a little bit harder to put back in last time. That this pipe, the pump output pipe, is actually aligned with this side, and the power connector is on the other side. So I got it basically 180 last time, so I'm sure it didn't make a massive amount of difference, but this time I'm just being so much more careful to put everything back exactly as it was, that you know, I'm going back on it a few times just to make sure that it's correct. I'm not paranoid, I'm just wanting to do it correctly. So, and also I realized that this wasn't like a really tight cable tie on these, so I'm just gonna do the same thing again where it's got a bit of movement. Otherwise they are sort of jammed together, and there's no kind of grace in the whole thing. So that's now looking hopefully more like it was sort of originally. The only thing I haven't put back is that annoying fuel burning heater hose, which pops in here, and that has a little cable tie to stop it from falling out. So that's a separate kind of supply, and that's got to be on here. It's going to be facing this direction, I think. Just gonna do that loosely for now. Just want to make sure I'm going to do it around the right way. Take my picture, have a look. So that was okay, yeah, so that was coming. See, I've got my reference picture on my phone. I will post it on the video as well. So that was going up and under. So under here, up and under, pointing in that direction so that it's not getting in the way of anything. Make sure that this is done up. Yeah, and it was on that kind of on that side of the pipe. So I'm just going to make sure that's tight, just so that it can't come out on its of its own accord. Because you don't really want that floating around in your fuel tank. Make sure it's nice and cut off safely. Right. So I think we're kind of there, other than I haven't plugged in the connector for the fuel. Oops, do it around the right way would help. There. So the power connector's there. We soldered the wires. This has got to go back into its grounding point on the fuel pressure regulator. And I think we're kind of basically there now. So I'm just gonna stop for a bit, have a break, have a cup of tea, just sit down for 5 minutes, and then I'll come back. There's a little note that I want to make about this repair, that last time I think I missed out. There is a little pipe connector there on the left, and when I was in the tank I discovered a pipe floating around that didn't seem to be attached in anywhere. So I think that last time I missed reattaching that to there. So obviously it may not be the end of the world, but again, it's just being aware of these things. So I'll show it when it's fitted back in, but just like I said, reviewing, checking things and making sure that they go back in the right way. I'm probably doing this better than I did last time, just because I'm slower, and also I just don't want to cock it up this time. So I'm just trying to make as sure as possible that everything is done that will mitigate against yet another failure.